An absolute bombshell drops late on Wednesday. Nick Saban announces plans to retire. Is it due to the fact of age, money, or the ever-changing landscape of college football? We will discuss. Flyers head coach John Tortorella absolutely shreds the Philadelphia media in wake of false reporting regarding a recent trade made with the Anaheim Ducks. An update as well to MLB and the ongoing dispute between the league and Diamond Sports Group as the bankruptcy courts do continue their work on their case. And could a second Formula One race coming to Vegas next year or later this year face more blowback and pushback in wake of a very flopped and feebled first go-around this past year? All that and more on Press Row right here and right now. This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts. Like us on Facebook and get crafting today. Reaper Apparel Company. A commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. Good Thursday afternoon, everybody, and welcome into another live edition of Press Row, covering all the big sports stories from the angle of the sports media and sports business perspective. Yours truly, Callan McClurg, joining you today on a beautiful, balmy, and sunny Thursday, January 11th, 2024, right here from our home studios in San Diego, California, wishing you and yours a great start to your Thursday, and hopefully all is going according to plan, folks. An action-packed show today. Got a lot of ground to cover here, but of course, folks, we'll take your input on all things going on in the wide world of sports from the sports media and sports business perspectives here on Press Row once more today by, again, dropping your comments in our live chat box via Facebook or on YouTube. We'll get to all those comments throughout the course of our program here this afternoon. With that, folks, we won't waste any more time flapping our gums. We'll get to the big story of the day. On top of a very weird and ongoing coaching carousel across the world of both college and the National Football League, on top of Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. But, of course, our big story today, though, folks, is Nick Saban, the highest-paid NFL or highest-paid NCAA football coach, announcing his plans on Wednesday to call it quits and retire. Nick Saban of the Alabama Crimson Tide told players in a team meeting held on Wednesday that his coaching career was coming to a close per an official announcement by the Alabama football program and by the University of Alabama itself. Saban, who was 72 years old, was tied for the most national championships of any FBS football head coach with 7, 6-1 with the Tide, and 1 during his tenure at LSU. Saban's illustrious resume was reflected in his paycheck. This year, he made over $11.4 million, more than any other coach in the business, with Clemson's Dabo Swinney being the second highest paid coach at just over $10.9 million. Saban's retirement will undoubtedly send shockwaves throughout the college football landscape, as the open coaching position in Tuscaloosa could set up another round of a coaching carousel. As for his post-coaching future, rumors have begun to swirl that he could become a broadcast analyst, but nothing has been confirmed. But industry experts do tell FOS on Wednesday that Saban would be a quote-unquote perfect addition to ESPN's College Game Day. Lee Corso, who is 88 years old, basically has a lifetime guarantee contract as long as he wants per ESPN sources. But the network, though, has long eyed the Alabama coach as a successor to Lee Corso. Saban likes making guest appearances on College Game Day as well. He's already tight with the new Game Day star, Pat McAfee, making appearances weekly on the former NFL punter's new talk show on ESPN. Hiring Saban, though, would also fire a shot directly across the bows of Fox Sports' Big Noon Kickoff, which currently boasts former head coach Urban Meyer. Quote unquote, one source says that I don't know if Saban has the passion for the fans that Corso does, nor the entertainment aspect of things, but it certainly makes a lot of sense. One source does say, open and a close quote. What a week. If you are a football fan, again, the guy in studio here is not big of a fan of the sport. However, it's been a very, very chaotic and shell-shocking week of that for those of you out there who, again, live and die with football. Pete Carroll, somehow, some way, let go in Seattle with the Seahawks. Thursday's announcement of Bill Belichick, as I, someone in a way, predicted on this network a while back that there'd be a mutual parting of ways between Belichick and the Patriots. And then today, or even yesterday, Nick Saban, though, retiring, has led me down a rabbit hole that I've been really thinking about since I got back from work last night, was eating my customary late night meal when I got home from work on Wednesday. And it led me to believe about the long debated argument I've really had on this podcast. And that argument has been about this ever-changing landscape of college football, where a guy like Nick Saban retires, not for the fact the game's passed him by, but I believe we have to at least consider this as a factor, or these factors right now, of the two biggest talking points right now in all of college athletics: NILs and the transfer portal. That, again, this whole new era we're entering, conference realignment on top of NILs and also the transfer portal, one does kind of begin to wonder if this version or new era of college football is not made for even the longest tenured or even the most experienced head coaches who have been used to one system and one model for their whole careers, like a Nick Saban. Yeah, Nick Saban has seen a lot in his time coaching in college, in Lansing and Baton Rouge and in Tuscaloosa. Now, I don't believe, folks, that Nick Saban is calling it quits for the fact of them losing this game and having to try to rebuild a program after a bit of a down season. Part of me, though, is on the train of thought, Saban retiring, maybe to to someone in a way unplug from college football for a bit. But actually, like, a very good chunk of me, big part of me does wonder aloud, though, if this new era of college football is not Coach Saban's cup of tea. Again, I have long been on that sentiment, or on that bandwagon, or basically the conductor of that hype train, that what we're seeing right now in college athletics, mainly with college football, with the realignment on top of the portal and the NILs, that it's not going to work. And I've had a lot of people out there who have been, in a way, saying I'm wrong. Hey, you work in college athletics, you should be on board for this. I'm on board for the NIL deals where it can at least give these kids a chance to get some sort of money or revenue off their name and their image and likeness. But now it's almost, in a way, making coaches like Nick Saban, maybe even Gino Auriemma, Kim Mulkey even. But it's making a lot of these big-name college coaches maybe question their mortality when it comes to where we're at right now with how this college landscape has been heading down. I did hear a report today, even this morning when I was kind of getting up, drinking the morning cup of joe and reading and figuring out the content for the show today, that I believe it was a colleague of mine who said that the whole new rules in place with NILs and even with the portal led to Saban going down this announcement of him retiring after a long tenure in Alabama, and plus his whole career, though, with the NFL gigs, and then, of course, his time at LSU and with Michigan State. That it's not for the fact of the Tide not winning it all this year. I believe, though, that part of the reason, and I might be in the very small percentile who believes this, because I think that Nick Saban's not going to come out and say that this is the reason why. But I do believe, though, that this new era we're entering in college athletics and with college football, a new expanded playoff format, the transfer portal, NIL deals for the athletes, the realignment, I think all four of those do, in fact, have some weight in his decision. I don't believe it's his age. I think he still has the zest for the game. He loves the game still, I think. He definitely still has the coaching edge, I think. So it's not salary. It's not age. I just think, though, that a new era, this new era that we've been talking about that's already being advertised on ESPN for the new 12-team format for the playoffs, one does have to wonder how a lot of these long-tenured coaches, not just Saban in football, I'm also thinking of Gino Auriemma, Mark Few, Patty Grasco with Oklahoma softball. How does this whole new era of realignment, of players able to make money off their NILs like Callan McClurg with State Farm Insurance, for example, realignment, NILs, the transfer portal being open, which seems like every single day where there's no stop to it. Kids can transfer basically right now if they wanted to. And I know it's been a very big talking point as well that now that Saban's out, wow, a lot of decommits now going to be coming from Alabama. So, again, I don't believe that Nick Saban is retiring because of his age or his health or even his salary. Those are not factors. I think the factors are probably what I've been long saying, though people have called me stupid or an idiot or that I smoke weed and I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to sports. I do think that this new era of college athletics, though, is going to be forcing coaches like Nick Saban, Gino Auriemma maybe, Patty Grasco with Oklahoma softball, more and more long-tenured, 20, 30, 40-plus year tenures of head coaches who are not probably ready to grasp the changing nature of college athletics. Again, once more, realignment, NILs, transfer portals. That head coaches and head coaching positions within the next decade, probably, in my opinion, are going to be more aimed at younger coaches who maybe are more in tune. I would even say like a Deion Sanders, though I know he's not young. He's not a spring chicken. But I think you catch my drift, though. Social media clicks when it comes to that. That there's a lot of factors, I think, out here, folks. Regardless, Nick Saban, first ballot Hall of Famer for college football. I would hope and pray that there's going to be a statue of him outside of Bryant Downey Stadium or Bryant Dean Stadium down there in Tuscaloosa. Because this man simply is God to that Alabama athletic department. I know for a fact a former baseball teammate of mine named Luke Jarvis, who played at Alabama, once told my dad when he came back to town to get some off-season work in at our former youth baseball fields here in San Diego. My dad asked Luke flat out, what was it like being on campus and what was it like being around Nick Saban? He says, Coach, Nick Saban is just full-blown tunnel vision. No one talks to him. Don't go up and ask for a photo or for a handshake if he walks campus, because everyone stays like a good 1,000 feet away from him because he is just so focused, so laser-eyed focused on winning that next game. How can we improve our football program? How do we get back to the national title game? And I personally love that, though I know it rubs people the wrong way, though, about being like locked in, tunnel vision, focusing in on your next game, your next practice. How do you get better? Day by day, brick by brick, shoulder to shoulder. How do you get better? with every passing day, and I love that, and I love that mentality out there. But again, folks, I really think, though, that this new era of college football is going to be pushing out and forcing out more big name coaches like Nick Saban. Again, I know that Nick retired on his own terms. Again, I do not believe one bit that Nick is retiring because of his age or his health or his salary. I think that the new wave of momentum that is being generated here by the NIL deals in place, by the transfer portal, again, de facto free agency, the looming 12-team college football playoff, the realignment issues, all of that right now, I think, is going to be forcing more and more longer tenured coaches who might be out of touch, maybe in your mind or even in my mind, with their college athletic programs, because again, we're entering new uncharted waters when it comes down to what those big 4 or 5 things I've listed here. Again, you can call me stupid or an idiot for thinking that. But again, when I hear a college football coach like the coach from Missouri come out earlier in the offseason when all the big moves were planned for SC and UCLA to go to the Big Ten, then the Pac-12 utterly collapsing and blowing up and just leaving Oregon State and Wazoo behind, OU and Texas going to the SEC. When I hear a coach share the same sentiments that I have long shared, again, people have thought I'm stupid and that I don't know what I'm talking about when I share the same exact sentiments as a SEC football coach in Missouri who says, this might be great for my program, but again, did we talk to our soccer teams, our baseball teams, softball teams, basketball teams, even the other sports that no one or that will not be as affected as my team will be because we only go out and play once a week, though. When that happens, that's where I think, though, that I would even think Nick Saban, greatest college football coach of all time, if he even shares the same sentiments that someone who doesn't necessarily care for college football, that might be a reason for him retiring because of the fact, I know he probably does not care much about the other programs at Alabama. Again, I might be wrong, though, or way off base here. But again, does a coach like Nick Saban, does a coach like Gino Auriemma, where they have simply been the greatest coaches of their era in time, in college football and college women's basketball, long sustained careers, either at one university or just in general, the longevity, the national championships. One has to wonder, I think, that longer tenured head coaches don't want to mess with this new era and that they feel like they're being forced out of the equation or out of the picture because they can't keep up, maybe. Though, again, I know that Bama is always ranked in the top 25. They've made the playoff, I think, all but one season, I think, under this new 14 format. But again, I think one does have to wonder. Again, you might think I'm way off base, folks, but someone out there, please, if you're watching right now, give me your thoughts here. Do you believe that Nick Saban retiring is not because of age or his health or his salary, but that a older, established name like Saban doesn't want the challenge, though I would definitely disagree that I think Saban's up to the task. But does this new era, though, NILs, transfer portal, conference realignment, do all these factors maybe factor in his decision? As I believe that it does. Because I don't think Nick Saban would retire other than maybe the fact of the game not passing him by. But does a established name, Auriemma, Saban, Sweeney even, do they perhaps feel like, though, that this new wave and this new era of college football coming might, in fact, force them to question their job security, that they won't get fired, but can they keep up, though, with a program, for example, again, this is off base, but can they keep up, though, with Deion in Colorado? I know that Shador put up that tweet, though, afterwards of the announcement with the eyeball or the eye-looking emoji, Alabama players tap in. Like, again, Colorado, in my honest opinion, it may be way off base and off, and be a two-stroke penalty and in the rough and out of bounds. But one has to wonder, like a program like Colorado, flashy name coach, They have those NILs. They got that social media connection. You know, they have all the endorsements with Blenders, the sunglass company. You know, one has to wonder if like Colorado kind of in a way becomes not the poster child though, but one does have to wonder a little bit though that becomes the new model of what college football will look like in maybe 4 to 5 to 6 years, maybe. Who really knows? All right, couple of comments real quick from my good man Sean Mears, joining us from Richmond, Virginia. Says, good, my man Callan, tuning in here today, and good to see you as well, Sean. Hopefully, all is well with you at VCU and over there in Virginia. And our good man Adam Barber says, who do you think, Callan? Who do you believe will take his place? I don't know, Adam. It's very interesting though, and it's been a very shocking week for college football and for football fans like yourself out there. Pete Carroll in Seattle, Bill Belichick on Thursday morning, Nick Saban yesterday. It's almost like, what the hell is next for the football world out there? Yeah, I know Jim Harbaugh is like, you know, he's priority A right now when it boils down to where things are at with his decision. Again, NFL 10-year contract, $125 million from Michigan. But again, though, as I said, though, does he defect to the NFL due to the potential sanctions against Michigan, the COVID season, recruiting violations, the cheeseburger incident, the 6-game suspension this year for 3 games on separate occasions for both recruiting and also for the sign stealing issues? I don't know, Adam. It's going to be for football fans out there, this is probably the most shocking week I'd say that we have seen probably ever, honestly. 3 of the biggest, well-known, well-respected coaches, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, all within a 2-day span, relieved of their duties, parting of ways, retiring. I don't recall, Adam, and our viewers out there, a more shocking week in one sport when it boils down to those 3 gentlemen retiring, getting canned, parting of ways. It's shocking. I think I'm more shocked, though, if I would have to go list 1 through 3. Saban retiring, for one thing, is probably number 1 in my opinion. Because I think, like I said, though, the factors about NILs, the portal, realignment being the main 3 culprits, because it's hard, I think, like I said, for a coach who is in touch with a right now outdated system as we begin this new chapter of college football next season with the 12-team tournament and all the other garbage I've been spewing here. Saban retiring is the top story. Belichick parting ways, though, we probably saw it coming after Brady retired and left and went to Tampa Bay and won another ring. But Bill Belichick, though, parting of ways, I believe I heard he still wants to be a part of the organization in some small way, I think, which I think would be great, as I also predicted on this network too. And then Pete Carroll. I think Pete still has that fire in him to still coach, but the Seahawks wanting to go a different direction, maybe. Maybe his voice was getting old in the locker room. Again, who really knows, though? But certainly, I think, though, shocking week, though, and shocking couple days for college and for NFL football fans out there, myself excluded. But certainly, business-wise and media-wise, holy cow. With that in mind, folks, over to the world of the NHL. Giving press conferences might not be Flyers head coach's John Tortorella's best attribute as a NHL head coach, but at least Torts is never boring. The never boring part was on full display on Wednesday night when the Flyers head coach used his post-game presser to lash out at a reporter over a recent trade report involving them and the Anaheim Ducks. I, folks, have pulled up John Tortorella's press conference. This is going to be courtesy of our sources over at NBC Philadelphia and via the Flyers Nation X account, better known as Twitter. Let's hear what John Tortorella had to say before we go on with our story here. Let's take a look and listen in on what Torts had to say about this report made by the this source about the trade made between the Flyers and the Anaheim Ducks.
Is the guy here? Is there doesn't the guy here that caused Kevin Hayes a problem?
Yes.
You?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Do you think Kevin Hayes is going to do something like that?
Any last questions?
Person letting the first two buy him.
It pisses me off that you guys throw that around and affect someone's life. Kevin Hayes and I had a problem. We couldn't come to an agreement how to play. That's a good man. That's a good man. And what you said is going to stay with him. That's what you guys don't understand. You say something, and you're going to sit there and say you have the right sources. I call. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
John Tortorella after the game on Wednesday. Again, the video courtesy of our sources at NBC Sports Philadelphia and Flyers Nation on X, better known as Twitter. Earlier in the week, the Flyers dealt their number 5 overall draft pick from 2022, 19-year-old Boston College sophomore Cutter Gauthier to the Anaheim Ducks after Gauthier had informed the club he had no intention of signing with the Flyers organization. On Monday, a Flyers beat writer named Anthony Sanfilippo, who hosts the Flyers podcast Snow the Goalie, claimed an unnamed source within the Flyers organization revealed that now Blues player Kevin Hayes may have caused a rift between Gauthier and the Philadelphia organization. Hayes' fingerprints are all over this, Sanfilippo said during the podcast, open and close quote. Gauthier currently plays for Boston College, for which he is where Kevin Hayes played a decade ago, and Hayes also played for the Flyers between 2019 and 2023 before he was dealt away to the St. Louis Blues. To reiterate the comments made by Torts in the post-game press conference, Torts ranted towards Sanfilippo, who was in attendance at that media briefing. Are you kidding me? You actually think Kevin Hayes is going to do something like that? It's BS. It pisses me off that you guys throw that bleep around and affect someone's life. Kevin and I had a problem. We couldn't come to an agreement on how to play. That's a good man. That is a good man, and what you said is going to stay with them. That's what you guys don't understand. You say something, and you're going to sit there and say you have the right sources. I call BS, open and close quote. Kevin Hayes also denounced the remarks made by Sanfilippo's report that he caused a rift between the Flyers and Cutter Gauthier, ultimately forcing the organization to deal a top prospect away for Ducks rookie defenseman Jamie Drysdale and a top pick in the 2025 NHL draft. Shortly after the trade and the now controversial podcast take, Kevin Hayes also blasted Sanfilippo via Instagram, writing, "This guy is a effing clown," and making bleep up. Hayes also spoke to The Athletic about the report, saying first and foremost as well, at first it did not really seem like a big deal, but just the bleep that's coming from the aftermath, people with death threats, people want my family dead, people happy my brother's dead, it's just crazy stuff coming out, open and close quote. After the press conference, Sanfilippo addressed the talking to from Tortorella on Twitter, saying, quote, "Welp, Torch just lit me up in his press conference about Kevin Hayes, completely unpromoted. That ought to be a joy for everyone for the next couple of days," open and close quote. Again, that video posted, again, courtesy of NBC Sports Philadelphia and also courtesy of Flyers Nation on Twitter. We should, folks, be not surprised at all that John Tortorella is probably the coach any player out there wants to play for, because you know damn well that Torts has your back. I think we remember that his first time around coaching when he blasted some of the media reporters for, like, get the F out of here if you don't know what you're talking about. And that this is a guy who really, I know he has a bad rap, though, or gets a bad rap, though. But I think any player out there knows damn well, though, if you're on a John Tortorella-led club, that coach has your back. I applaud how Torts handled this whole situation. Not necessarily the open bashing of the reporter, though I think it was warranted, but maybe not that time and place, though. But I also do, though, think, or also, again, appreciate how Torts has gone to bat, though, for a player no longer in his organization, saying, look, it's simple as this. Kevin Hayes and I had a bit of a rift. That's not to say that is not a good man. sports is not the all-in, be-end of everyone's life out there. But wow, what a couple of day or 2 days it's been. I'm not going to go too far in depth with my thoughts on the trade, obviously, because this is not the angle for it, and it's also affecting or did affect my organization that I also am employed by. I know it does help, though, in a way on the ice, though. But I also, though, folks, do think that the criticism, though, of Sanfilippo is absolutely 100% warranted. Because this is what I think drives us nuts. And also I think drives coaches nuts. Why we see so many post-game tirades. Because stuff like this gets put out. Stuff like this gets said. And then we have unprovoked attacks on a former player of this organization. Kevin Hayes did no wrong here. The issue in question was that Kevin Hayes and Torts had an issue when he was with Philadelphia. That is totally separate from why Cutter Gauthier chose not to sign with the Flyers when he was drafted 2 years ago. And after his performance in Gothenburg, Sweden, helping Team USA win the World Junior Championship here and win the gold medal over in Sweden about a week or so ago. Kevin Hayes had no role in Cutter Gauthier not signing with the Flyers. And I think it was more of a thing, though, that I know that Torts also, in a way, had his own other press conference where he didn't know the kid personally and said he didn't know Cutter from a hole in the wall in the locker room or something along that effect, though. But I really, though, and again, this kind of goes back to a point I brought up here about the whole thing about Shohei Ohtani and how his free agency was covered. I really kind of question, in a way, a podcast host, myself included, or somebody covering the club for like a third-party outlet. For example, Callan McClurg covering the San Diego Seals for a bit, or the San Diego Wave FC of the NWSL for David Furker's company of San Diego Sports Domination. I'm not really covering it for the team website or a soccer or lacrosse inside source. It'd be more along the lines of like a fan blog kind of, in a way, covering this organization. I really get a little scared, a little skeptical. I'm not skeptical, but I get more concerned, though, about those out there who, again, are trying their best to give their thoughts on their team via their podcast routes. But then I get concerned, though, when stuff like this happens, where then the coach attacks you in this way again, where it's John Tortorella again, absolutely lambasting this writer, this podcast host covering the Flyers, that you're bringing in a player not even in the organization into a very, very sticky situation. That, again, Kevin Hayes had nothing to do with this whole thing. But also, it goes to show John Tortorella's character. This is a team and player-first coach who will stick his neck out there and protect his players. And I love a coach who is that way, who also can show tough love, though, behind closed doors, and maybe criticize or call out a player, but again, away from the media. But for Torts, though, to say, yes, Kevin Hayes and I had a beef, though, but that beef was between him and myself. This drafted prospect, who I don't know who his name was, again, kind of in a way paraphrasing Torts' comments from earlier in the week, though, about the trade. Kevin Hayes is a good guy. Him and I do not see eye to eye on ice play or team play or his play. That doesn't diminish his character as a family man, or away from our organization. So I do believe that the commentary from Torts, as we heard from NBC Sports Philadelphia, is 100% spot on. And I also believe that this does, in a way, go back to what I had said, though, a little bit earlier in this segment here, I absolutely love and respect people I know out there who cover teams for their own podcast endeavors or for a third-party outlet. But it does concern me, though, that if it's not the beat writer of the team for the newspaper or the team website who's getting called out, it really scares me in a similar spot, freelance beat writer, podcast host, that something that maybe you hear not from a right source gets put out, and in this case, again, about the whole ordeal about Kevin Hayes telling Cutter Gauthier, don't sign with this organization, which, again, was totally false per John Tortorella's account, though. It does worry me that those who are not a part of the newspaper, the team website, the team digital content team, the social media team for the organization, that more third-party and more freelance writers are kind of in a way at the mercy, or are in a way not on the good list, the nice list of coaches, GMs, players even, where, again, we've heard so much, folks, Cam Newton, firing off at Mike Florio earlier around Christmas after his comments about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, that players and coaches now feel more obligated to take pot shots, not necessarily like question the work ethic or the credentials or the background in a way of writers, though that did happen, though, with Cam Newton lashing out at Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk around Christmas Day. But it does kind of, in a way, become worrisome that those who are not with the team, a part of the organization, a part of the TV crew, the radio crew, the team podcast crew, or the newspaper beat writers, that the freelance writers, the freelance podcast host out there like Sanfilippo, if one report for them goes haywire, they're at the mercy and the pent-up frustration, I'd say, even, of a coach like John Tortorella. Again, I applaud Torts, though, for having Kevin Hayes' back again, though, again, that there was that rift that he talked about, though. But I think, though, that in a way it shows, though, why coaches and players maybe, in a way, don't like talking to the media because of stuff like what has happened. Again, dragging a former player of the organization in. This player now has had death threats made on his social media accounts by maybe fans of the Flyers, maybe it's other people who are on the side of the podcast host. That, again, this is a very, very rough spot, folks. But I think, though, that regardless, that the trade maybe will help, already help the Flyers out with Drysdale getting an assist last night in his first game, and will also help out Anaheim in a way in later this season, maybe. Who really knows? But, man, again, I do applaud John Tortorella, folks, for, again, having his teams back. He's always been a player first and team first kind of head coach. Though it may not be everyone's cup of tea, though. But again, would you rather have a coach go out there and defend his team like what we saw Torts do in that clip about being there for a guy not even in the organization, to be there for this player? And also, in a way, like, I didn't know this kid. I don't know who we drafted. I don't know what his name was. Never knew him. Never got to know him. Wasn't a part of our team. He's gone now. Let's talk about the guy that we brought in to fill his void. Young, dynamic player who's now on our roster. Why should we make it about something out of our control or not involving a player within our system who we just traded? And why are we dragging a player who's not even with our organization because of a previous rift that I had with him? Why is he now the subject of death threats because of this player not signing because maybe he said, don't go to the Flyers organization? So I applaud Torts for how he handled it, because I think he shares a lot of sentiments still like a Nick Saban. I'm tired of, like, armchair media members, like a Callan McClurg, for example. I'm tired of people out there who are trying to improve their analytics and their data and their numbers and their clicks by stirring the pot, by bringing up old, like airing out old laundry like this. And that, I think that's where the problem lies, though. Again, if it's not team PR, if it's not the newspaper, television, or radio with the team, if it's, again, a C2C podcast host or a third-party beat writer, I don't think though that there's enough respect given because a coach like Torts would overlook you because you're not with NBC Sports Philadelphia. You're not with the team radio station. You're not Flyers.com. You are your own separate entity. And because I believe, from Torts' perspective, you're trying to stir the pot. You're trying your hardest to, again, bring up old news. You're trying to stir the pot. You're trying to do this and do that. That's where a coach loses respect for the media. Because, like I said on Monday, one bad apple ruins it for the rest of us. And I will say, folks, I again, was a beat writer for a bit with the Seals, the lacrosse team here in San Diego, and helped out David Furker cover the San Diego Wave for their first 2 years, or first year, I should say, when they came into play. And yeah, there was always one person who may have, in a way, didn't do their homework or maybe wrote a story about the Wave playing a game in Seattle and they brought back, or they typed a story into some Charger game in 2010 in Seattle. Like, there was always that one writer out there that always would do something like that, though. But the players and coaches would never, though, stoop to Torts' level, though, of absolutely torching and, kind of in a way, setting that person's career on fire. But again, folks, it's a very weird and gray area, though. But again, I applaud Torts, though, for having his teams back, though. And I think, though, that the clip that we saw, though, should be a little bit of a poster child / warning out there to people in my field, in a way. Podcast hosts who aren't affiliated with the team, writers who aren't affiliated with the team. That was your warning. To kind of, in a way, do your homework, do your research, double check, triple check, and kind of, in a way, don't get on the naughty list with coaches and players. With that in mind, folks, an update to the ongoing issues plaguing both Major League Baseball and Diamond Sports. A lot of ongoing issues here, and there was even talk about a potential verdict today and even yesterday with the ongoing bankruptcy about who will, in fact, stay on Bally Sports for the upcoming baseball season. But per cordcuttersnews.com and Luke Buma, MLB's court hearing with Bally Sports has been delayed as 3 more teams might be dropped off the Bally Sports RSN. Last month, during a court hearing, MLB lawyers said that a framework had been reached for a deal to have Bally Sports air the entire 2024 season. The catch is 3 of the remaining teams, though, might be dropped by Bally Sports or have their contracts changed. Wednesday was no exception, as the court date was to be finalized for a potential deal between MLB and Bally, but now the court hearing has been further delayed. Bally Sports lawyer Andrew Goldman told CC News that the problem is some teams may not be a part of this new deal. Andrew told reporters there are 3 teams who are currently not contemplated to be in the fold. We already knew that Bally was considering dropping the Guardians and Rangers, but the third team that may be dropped is unknown at this time. Currently, the teams that Bally Sports has contracts with are the Tigers, Marlins, Guardians, so that could in fact change, Royals, Cardinals, Reds, Angels, Braves, Rangers, Rays, and Brewers. And already, Bally has already dropped 3 teams during the 23 season. That also includes the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and also includes the Minnesota Twins. But now the court date to finalize a deal between Bally and MLB has been pushed back to at least January 19th, so literally 8 days from today. This comes as it was reported that this week that MLB had rejected an offer from Amazon to help fund Bally Sports and move the streaming of these games to Amazon Prime Video. MLB said in a filing submitted last month that it believes that Bally Sports will shut its business down at the end of the 2024 season. Because of that belief, MLB has argued that the channel does not need extra time to prep and present its plan to get out of bankruptcy filings. Wowzer. So here, Amazon tries to help out here by pumping some money into this bankrupt sinking ship. And baseball says, nah, no thanks. We folks will probably see, in my opinion, all the clubs that are affected by this bankruptcy probably being off of those stations probably sometime during this upcoming baseball season. It'll be very interesting when we come back next week, Monday, Wednesday, and presumably next Friday. It will be very interesting to see what comes out of the delay with the ruling. I know for a fact, though, that the Padres have had to bid farewell to Mark Sweeney, who was a Bally Sports San Diego and then MLB.TV analyst, fill-in color commentator, and pregame host, that both him and Annie Halliburton have both been let go by the Padres because of the financial woes right now and the fact that the league is right now the Padres' lead television partner. These next 8 days, folks, are going to be extremely critical. And I do fear the worst, though, for these teams who are still right now, as our good man Chris Mabry writes, this is probably why the Rangers can't sign any more free agents. Chris, you and I are in the same boat. With the Padres losing their Bally deal in May, they lost $50 million in television revenue locally, which is part of the reason that you have seen the Padres have to trade Juan Soto and have to trade Trent Grisham and maybe have to trade more players, because that is $50 million there, Crispy Bacon, off the Padre payroll because of the television deal not being there. That goes with Arizona, the Twins, and also these other teams. I really, folks, fear the worst. That if there's no safety net in place here, these next 8 days could be a whirlwind of emotions and a whirlwind for baseball fans who want to watch games on TV. You know, does the league have to take over all 30 clubs? No. Because I think that the Cubs are fine, the Yankees are fine, the Mets are fine for those 3 teams that I know for a fact. But right now, I do think that this is full-blown panic mode right now. I don't want to be that way, but I do really believe that this is now full-fledged panic. Oh my goodness, get on the lifeboats. For the fact, though, that there's so many questions. You know, and again, I think that the Padres do serve as the poster child here of when you lose local TV, it affects how you can spend going forward. And again, Chris, to your point again, buddy, this is why that his Rangers also can't sign any free agents. They both right now are in not the same lifeboat being lowered off the deck into the open water as the ship sinks with Bally Sports, Chris. But they are certainly, though, in the same sort of, they're in the same spot of the food chart, or food chain, I should say. Again, the Padres folks had to pull out a loan for $50 million to cover the television base being unoccupied. They wanted $100 million. They only got 50, which covered the payroll, largely in part because of the Bally deal falling through in late May. So again, I think that the next 8 days are extremely, extremely DEFCON 1. Attack pattern Delta. Things are right now, sirens, I think, should be blaring, and there should be a lot of concern. Because if something falls through, where if 3 more teams are off of Bally, and eventually if every team on Bally loses their contracts during the course of the season, then baseball faces a bigger problem. Not for the fact of a team spending $1 billion on 2 free agent players. That's one thing. But if you start losing fan bases on television, that is a major, major, major concern. And again, I really do believe that this now becomes full-fledged DEFCON 1 attack pattern Delta, that we are now right now in dangerous water. the ship is sinking. Lifeboats are already, the lifeboats and evacuations are underway. But also the fact I'm more am concerned, though, that there's no safety net in place right now. Amazon could have been a safety net, but again, it's baseball. This sport can't get out of their own way. And they say no because they want to go to court. So I believe right now, if you were a baseball fan, at this rate, get ready to listen to games on radio, like back in the early days of the game being a thing. I'm very scared. I'm very concerned that more teams out there, the fact that the defending world champion Texas Rangers may not even be on local television come opening day to unfurl the banner of their first World Series. And that not be carried on Bally Sports Southwest, so I think it's a national game anyway. But also the shuffling, though, too, of talent. Jason Bietti moving from the White Sox off of NBC Sports Chicago to the Tigers and Bally Sports up in Detroit. Jeff Francoeur and CJ Nowitzki, who was with the Rangers, now moving to Bally Sports Southeast to be with the Braves. I'm very concerned. I am concerned, though, for those fan bases out there, along with the Padres and the Diamondbacks and the Twins, and even the rumblings of the Rockies maybe being off AT&T Sportsnet, Rocky Mountain pretty soon. Baseball has got to do something ASAP. Like, these next 8 days are going to be extremely, extremely, extremely critical. And I think that the verdict will also be critical. That verdict, I think, will probably, in a way, begin to put the wheels in motion about what the league will do. I still believe, folks, that I have long enjoyed seeing what other teams have done across other sports in question. I have thoroughly enjoyed seeing how the Suns and Jazz have gone about their business, going to local independent local over-air TV stations like ABC 15 in Phoenix and local stations in Salt Lake City. I've also enjoyed how the Suns, Mercury, and Knights have gone to a streaming platform on a month-to-month or yearly basis with Scripps Sports, with local TV, again, as I mentioned. That's going to have to become the safety net. You have to, I think, at this rate, strike deals with your local NBC, ABC, Fox, or CBS stations to become your new TV partners. Because I do not believe that that MLB can handle more than a couple of teams. I think that has to become a thing where the Padres reach out to Channel 5, Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 4. Like, you have to do something. Because I don't think that you can rely on the front office of Major League Baseball. I know they have some great qualified people running the RSN model right now because of what's gone on with Bally. But I would not trust the league front office to carry all 30 clubs or carry these teams right now who are right now in television hell right now with Bally Sports. And I would hope, though, that they would follow the model that's been laid out by the NBA and NHL. The Clippers have launched Clipper Vision. They have deals in San Diego with Channel 5 and Channel 9 to show their games that they're not on Bally Sports West or on SoCal. They have deals with KTLA. The Kings and Ducks have deals with, I think, KCal 9 and KCOP up in Orange County and Los Angeles. That has to become a thing pretty damn soon for Major League Baseball. You know, the Padres being on Channel 4 again, or on Fox 5, or on KUSI. The Angels going back to KTLA or KCal or KCBS or KTTV Fox 11. All of that needs to be figured out like pretty soon. And I would hope that these next 8 days begin to kind of, in a way, becomes pedal to the metal. because baseball already has enough problems as is. People, again, talking about the Dodgers and their spending. The rule changes. But now TV becomes another talking point where, again, it just seems like that baseball can't get out of their own way. Now, again, this is not all on Major League Baseball. This is on the fact, though, that Diamond Sports bought a fledgling Fox Sports RSN package that was not going to succeed, though, once they were bought. But again, this does concern me a great deal that baseball is the sport I watch the most. Baseball and hockey and basketball are the three main sports I really care about the most, along with soccer. Those are my main four. This has to get worked out within these next 8 days. I don't think that he can really. I know that we're still a month away, roughly, from pitchers and catchers going to spring training, and that games really aren't shown on television for the spring. But there has to be something that has to be consummated and worked out and in place by opening day. Not the de facto opening day in Korea. I'm talking March 28th when all 30 clubs open up the season. There needs to be something there. There absolutely has to be something there where you have every base covered, whether it's streaming platforms, whether it's Bally is resurrected, or whether again it's your local Fox station airing the Angel games in Orange County or the Padre games in San Diego County, or ABC 15 in Phoenix showing the Diamondback games. There has to be something done, and baseball cannot afford to waste any more time. It's simple as that. With that, folks, our final story for our episode here today once more goes back to the ongoing issues plaguing Formula One racing and how small businesses have somewhat come out in a way against another race coming into town in the next year or two, or even later on this year, as more small businesses have been affected greatly within Las Vegas' city limits with the past event that took place just last year. Again, folks, I love ambitious ideas here, but there has been a lot of fallout here recently when it has boiled down to how this race really, I think, damaged a lot of things in Vegas. I know that two of my good friends, Hillary Heath and her boyfriend Sean Taylor, were in Vegas and were at the notoriously canceled race because of the pothole blowing up, or the pothole that was exposed, and it caused some damage to a couple of vehicles during the race, or during practice day, or the practice day, I should say. Too many factors, I think, caused that race to fail. And I recall, I think, when I talked about the Formula One race in Vegas, the reason I think, or one of the main reasons why I thought that it was rough, was the fact of the matter at hand being you had no drama, you had no storyline, you had a championship already clinched by Max Verstappen, who I think won all but one race leading up to the race in Vegas. So you had a very anticlimactic event. You had the weather being a bit out of control. You also had the practice day get delayed and then canceled because of a manhole cover that wrecked some cars during the practice run. And also that the event was virtually not selling well in Las Vegas. Now, that maybe goes against what I said, though, during either the year in review or the most recent first show of the new year, that I thought that sports would still be sustainable in Vegas. Okay, maybe Formula One cannot be sustained in Vegas. Because now you're also, again, affecting the livelihoods, though, of so many people on the Strip or near the Strip who rely on tourism during that slow season where it's not peak summer travel. I know me and my friends are planning to go there for my 30th birthday in May, and the rates aren't too terrible right now. It's somewhat still not quite summer. But I just think that there's just too many logistical hurdles, too many factors are why the Formula One race, I think, did not work in Vegas. That might be the one small event that may not work in Las Vegas. I think that the regular NASCAR race works because the racetrack is well away from the strip. Like, I think it's at least 10 miles north, I want to say, like on the outskirts of the city. But having the Formula One race in Vegas, though, on surface streets, going by the Sphere, going by the big hotels, going by the Bellagio fountains, going by the Mirage volcano, that's cool and all and great for television and for folks that are there, though. But when the event doesn't sell out, room rates are also not quite there. And you further impact small businesses affected by COVID for the last 4 years, trying to regain their profits that have been lost for so long, on top of weather, on top of the practice issue, but on top of the fact, though, that your champion was already set in stone in bronze and whatnot with Max Verstappen, who ended up winning the damn thing regardless. It just didn't quite, I think, work out. Now, I think things can be fixed, though. But there was some talk, though, that it was going to take about roughly 2 to 4 months to get all of the stuff from the race out and off the strip and off of the roads, though, like the grandstand stanchions and the barriers and the road markings and the fencing and all this and that. This folks created a massive, massive logistical headache that I don't think, though, that even Formula One wants to even try again. Go to Pomona, go to Southern California, go to Phoenix maybe, but don't stick this event in Vegas. I know you're trying to drum up support, though, for Formula One. You're trying to drum it up, though, during the slow season. But like I said, though, this event was held, I think, like in December or in November. You're going up against the Vegas Golden Knights, who, again, are coming off a championship, and their ticket prices are over $200 per game for one seat. I literally looked when they played the Penguins next Saturday. It was like $250 for one seat at T-Mobile Arena. Again, coming off the championship run and their victory last season. So I don't want to say don't have anything running in line with the Golden Knights season. But definitely you have to evaluate, though, about what it does to the entire city. Again, traffic nightmares for folks trying to get around town, driving or walking. The lack of ticket sales, though, for the race. The lack of hotel space being a factor. Just I think too many unforeseen errors, I think, is what crippled this event. And I would really think, though, that more and more small business owners probably don't sue, though, but probably say, please reconsider this event. Have it maybe somewhere else in the city. I don't know where else you could probably go, though. But I know, though, that you wanted to get the glitz and the glamour and the pizzazz of Vegas again by going by the fountains at the Bellagio and the volcano at the Mirage and by MGM and by New York, and all that stuff. But again, anticlimactic storyline again with no real drama because, again, your champion was already basically crowned that night in Max Verstappen. The practice nightmare of it being canceled or stopped midway through because of the pothole and the manhole cover. The lack of drama and the fact, though, again, of small businesses being crushed, though, by Formula One racing, by a big-name entity. So I don't really quite know, folks, what the best solution would be other than the fact of reconsidering your options for Vegas on the event schedule. I know that NASCAR will be back at the LA Coliseum for the Clash of the Coliseum to kick off their race season, I believe, first weekend in February. But again, I just wonder, though, if there is too many factors that are affecting the Formula One race in Vegas. In the wake of these small business owners who have come together to kind of say, hey, what are we doing here with this event? We're trying to recover from COVID. We rely on tourism. You, in a way, having this event here has really killed our profits and killed our business because people can't get to our stores or our business because of the seating areas, or it's blocked off because of the racetrack or this or that. Again, too many unforeseen circumstances, I think, is what will probably kill the Formula One race in Vegas. Not probably not right away though, but definitely for sure though, very very soon. Folks, before we get out of here for the day, I would be very remiss if I did not mention the fact of another San Diego sports icon in a way passing away midday on Wednesday, and that is Ron Hahn, who had passed away per reports on Wednesday in the someone in the afternoon on Wednesday. For those of you who don't know, Ron Hahn was the longtime or was a longtime owner of the San Diego Sports Arena, better known now as Pechanga Arena, San Diego. Him and his family became the leaseholders of the arena back in '92, and the arena since then has become the #1 ranked venue in California for venues between 10,001 and 15,000 seats for capacity. Ron also brought the San Diego Gulls back in the West Coast Hockey League in '95 until 2003, where they won 5 titles in 8 seasons. And again, Ron Hahn passed away yesterday on Wednesday. I, folks, can credit and thank Ron and his family for making me a fan of hockey. I went to my first ever hockey game 24 years ago in October, so actually 23 years ago, technically, when the Gulls played the Bakersfield Condors in the West Coast Hockey League. Ron began or helped start this league up after the IHL Gulls went to Los Angeles and then to Long Beach and became the LA/Long Beach Ice Dogs. And Ron Hahn's Gulls made me a fan of the sport because I thought that was like the MLB of hockey till I found out about the Anaheim Mighty Ducks and the LA Kings. But Ron's teams made me a fan of the sport. And I still talk to a lot of the guys that I grew up watching, like Mark Wolf, Mark Stitt, Trevor Koenig, and still know and work with BJ McPherson. BJ is our radio and TV color commentator. And BJ, you want to definitely, folks, look up BJ's story. But BJ suffered a very, very, very disheartening and very sad injury in the Taylor Cup finals in 2000-2001, where he suffered a dislocated neck. Ron Hahn was there for BJ from his injury until he's retired, or he had retired, paying for medical bills, paying for a lot, and actually getting BJ to the game, to Game 7 when we played Idaho in the 0-1 final. And I know that BJ really, looked at Ron, from a different set of eyes, though, after his injury. But I personally thank Ron Hahn, or have thanked Ron Hahn so much for making me a fan of the sport of hockey. Again, if it wasn't for me going to watch the Gulls back in the early 2000s, I wouldn't have become a hockey fan, let alone even a hockey announcer, as I've been for 15 years, 14 years, 15 years. And it was kind of sad, though, going down to the building yesterday, down to the arena yesterday, as we had our first game since the water main issue that happened last week. And the building put on the arena marquee about, rest in peace, Ron Hahn. They had that on the marquee outside the building. And the flag's being at half staff, though. And I actually went back, though, and sat in the seats I had for season seats for 6 seasons when I was a kid. And just like, I didn't get emotional, but I was just like thinking about a lot of those memories I had in that building as a elementary school kid from kindergarten through 5th grade, or 1st grade through 5th grade, being a hockey fan, and what the Hahn family brought to San Diego sports fans. Mainly, I think about it in that time frame of the mid '90s, where the Sockers had gone to the CISL. They were after their 10 championship run in the 80s into the 90s, but were already kind of in a way. They had rebranded colors. They were in a new league. It wasn't quite the same as it was in the MISL days. And then the Gulls kind of in a way filled the championship winning void when they won their 5 titles in those 8 WCHL seasons. They won 3 in a row, missed out on a year, and then won 2 and 3 years to finish off the season before the league was absorbed by the East Coast Hockey League. And that's kind of when I think that the ownership had changed hands for the Gulls to a different ownership group. But it did bring a lot of nostalgia back. A lot of those Gulls games on Friday night against the Condors, the Fresno Falcons, the Anchorage Aces, the Phoenix Mustangs, the Vegas Wranglers, the Colorado Gold Kings. A lot of memories came back to me last night. And again, my sincerest thoughts and prayers and condolences to his son Ernie and the Hahn family, who have been great ambassadors for the city with the brand new Wonderfront music festival held on the Bayfront here in San Diego. What Ernie and the family did to help renovate the building in the 90s into even now, when they had helped out with AEG and ASM Global to redo the building when the Gulls came back in 2015, that their longstanding legacy will be a part of that building in that arena forever. And I think Ron Hahn's legacy will be bringing hockey back in the 90s and kind of, in a way, bringing new fans like myself into the sport in wake of the IHL Gulls and then the WCHL team who won those 5 titles. And I was at both those Game 7s where the Gulls beat Idaho and Fresno and won those 2 Taylor Cups to end the season end the year, and also, of course, end that league's history. And I think back, though, too, to, like I said, though, about me having those friendships still with Mark Wolf and Mark Stitt, Dennis Purdy, Trevor Koenig, BJ McPherson, guys who I sat in the stands with or stands in and watch play. Yet here we are now with me going on 30 in May, and here guys I looked up to who were idols of mine, like they were living, breathing superheroes for me. And here we are to this day, still buddy. We still talk via the web, via emails, via phone calls every so often, or whatever. That bond has never gone away, and a lot of that is because of Ron Hahn bringing this team, bringing that team back in the 90s. And every time I see BJ McPherson around at a Gulls game, it brings a smile to my face, though. Like, his story is one thing, though, but the fact that I was able, so in perspective, during the COVID seasons and during the last couple of years, though, I was actually sitting in the press box at Pechanga Arena, San Diego, doing my job because I was not allowed to be in the penalty box because of the COVID measures in place by the AHL. And BJ was right across the walkway from me. So it'd be a radio and TV announcer, then the aisleway or the stairs, and then it would be me. And BJ and I would sit up there during pregame or intermission, and we would just talk about, his teammates and how it was when I was growing up watching his team play. And it really, I think hit harder Wednesday when the news came out of Ron Hahn passing away. But having those relationships and those friendships still with Wolfie, BJ, Dennis Purdy, Mark Stitt, Trevor Koenig, a lot of those guys who played for the Gulls back in the 90s, Brad Billen even too, who still coaches here locally at the San Diego Ice Arena in Mira Mesa. Having those relationships, though, stand the test of time. 20, 25, 30 years. Reminded me a lot of when my best friend Eddie Ramirez had his birthday on Tuesday. Eddie and I have been friends since kindergarten, and we have still been in touch and still have been friends for our whole entire life, basically. And it was a very, again, not quite emotional, but still like very somber day, though, going into a arena that I've been going to since I was in kindergarten, first grade, and then how that arena hooked me on the sport of hockey and where it's led me professionally in my career. And it was a very somber day. Flags were at half staff, and seeing Ron, the message on the video board outside the building. And again, going back to my season seats and sitting there and just kind of like, man, thank you, Ron Hahn, for 6 seasons of amazing moments that I still cling on to this day. And again, my condolences go to Ernie, the Hahn family, for Ron's passing, and I wish them nothing but the best going forward. With that in mind, folks, we will again check out of here for the day. Coming up later today, folks, the ever comical show of Coast to Coast. It will be kicking it later tonight at 8 o'clock local time here. Pacific time again with myself being a part of the panel again here at 8 o'clock local time here. Check us out again for another wacky and loony edition of Kicking It with Ace and Isaiah. And, of course, our full panel as well will join you. We will, folks, be back with you next week. We are still working on those 3 days right now, but it could, in fact, be Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week back here. But look, first again, back here once more on C2C. Again, glad to have Sean and Adam, Trevor Williams, and Chris Babry tune in today. And, folks, we are out here for the day. We'll see you back here again later tonight for Kicking It at around 8 o'clock Pacific time here, right back here on your home for programming about sports, life, and everything in between. That is the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, folks. Until next time, good day and goodbye. We'll see you back here again later on at 8 o'clock Pacific time for Kicking It. Till then, bye-bye.